Welcome into the Wallingford Sports Show. He's Hugh Davis. I'm Michael Watkins. We are coming at you live in studio this evening from the stations of Wallingford Broadcasting, and we're glad to have you tuned in for what should be another good show. Hugh Davis, we've got NBA news, of course, as the season continues to wind down. The playoffs in full stride. We're in the second round of the playoffs,
and one team's already advanced.
One team is completely done with the second round. We'll talk about that. We've also got, of course, our Solo Diamond Sports Academy Players of the Week, and we'll also talk some local baseball stuff. We've got the district tournament for the 44th district. All the Madison County schools know who they will play in the first round, so we'll have that. We'll talk about some Estill County stuff as well, and then we'll talk about the Reds and some Major League Baseball toward the end of the show. All that and more this evening. But Hugh, NBA playoffs first. It was a sweep by the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they knocked off the Hawks yesterday 100-99, and pretty much the closest game by far of the series, but really the only close game of the series that thus far. And they knock them off 100-99, win, and sweep the Hawks in round two.
4-0, yeah.
4-0, and I tell you what, the shooting by the Cavaliers is what propelled them to the sweep. As I pull up my stats here, it was an unbelievable shooting performance.
Was that yesterday when Kevin Love hit about 6 or 8 or 10 three-pointers?
He hit 8, and everybody on the Cavaliers, from Channing Frye, who had an unbelievable Game 3, to J.R. Smith, who could almost in Game 3 close his eyes and put it in the basket. They were everybody hitting three-pointers. 28 of the Hawks' 41 field goal attempts were uncontested. Hawks shot 60.7% on uncontested shots in the first half yesterday, led the Cavs 58-56, but still could not contain the three-point shooting that Cleveland was able to put up. The Cavs were 8 for 8 from the left corner three, including Kevin Love, who was 4 for 4 from the three-point line. And, Kevin Love hit 8 three-pointers, tying his most in a game, whether regular season or postseason. And the Cavaliers hit 77 three-pointers in the 4-game series. That is second all-time for a series. The Atlanta Hawks set the record 2 years ago with 79 three-pointers in one series. That took 7 games. So Cleveland hit 77 in 4 games and almost beat the record like that. It was just an unbelievable shooting performance from everybody. You look at it, Cavaliers become the 9th team in NBA postseason history to start a postseason 8-0. The last to do that was the 2012 San Antonio Spurs. So, Cleveland looks like they're on an easy path. They have cruised through the first 2 rounds, and they're on an easy path into the Eastern or to the finals, to where who knows who they'll play.
Right.
You look at the teams in the Western Conference right now. Everybody is battling. Portland knocks off Golden State in Game 3. Now they're setting themselves up for maybe a potential run with, they've got Steph Curry, the potential or the MVP. It was announced today that he is going to be the MVP again. No surprise to anyone. So he's going to be the MVP, but he is out for tonight, Game 4 tonight at 10:30. And Golden State leads that series 2-1, but Portland is battling back. And if Damian Lillard plays like he did in Game 3, we could have a 2-2 series going back to Golden State, and then you put the pressure back on the Warriors to maybe bring back Curry earlier than you would like to. But now if Golden State wins tonight, I think that they would rest Curry until the next round, potentially give him some more rest. So tonight's a big game for both teams. Portland looking to tie the series up, and Golden State looking to kind of go ahead and ease this series up for themselves. Go ahead and knock Portland back down a little bit, be up 3-1 going back home. You could probably beat Portland without Curry back home a little bit easier, and your role players are going to play better at home. So I think it's a big reason or a big game tonight for Golden State for that fact that they can rest their MVP and not bring him back until maybe you play you play San Antonio or Oklahoma City. That series has been unbelievable.
Now it's a 2-2 tie now.
And an unbelievable game last night. Kevin Durant went off for the Oklahoma City Thunder. They win 111-97, and Durant scores 41 points. And really, he's what carried the team. Obviously, he's a terrific player, one of the top 3 players in the NBA. Him, LeBron, and Steph, I think, bring that title home. But he goes for 41. Westbrook was 5 of 18 from the field, but he did a good job defensively, had 7 rebounds and 15 assists. That's huge for the Thunder, because if Westbrook has 12, 13 assists, that means he is passing the ball more than he is shooting it. Now, again, 18 shots, 15 assists. But if he can get double-figure assists, that makes them that much harder to beat because he is getting everybody else involved. And again,
I was going to say somebody's scoring.
Exactly, off of his assist. And Kevin Durant, again, 41 points last night. If he goes off for 41, if he goes for 35 or more, I don't see the Thunder losing that game, no matter who they're playing. If he's going off like that, Westbrook's playing like he did last night, then the Thunder are going to be tough to beat. You look at the stats. The Spurs were 16-4 in series where they had a 16-4 series record under Greg Popovich, went up 2-1 in a best-of-7 series. And I still think many people believe that the Spurs will win this series. They still have home court advantage after knocking off Oklahoma City in Game 3. And most people believe that they're still going to win and beat the Thunder. But they're going to need more from just LaMarcus Aldridge and Kawhi Leonard. Tim Duncan last night, how about the game for him? It was the first time in his career that he was held scoreless in a postseason game. And Tim Duncan has played a lot of postseason games. And then Kevin Durant, it was his 36th postseason game with at least 30 points. Only player with more in the last 7 postseasons is LeBron, who has 50. So, you keep looking at the stats. The numbers are unbelievable between these two teams and between some of the players. Again, Tim Duncan was held without a shot for the first time in his career, regular or postseason. He didn't even shoot a basket. He did not attempt a field goal.
Who was defending him usually?
And it wasn't even that. It was just, Tim Duncan, he only played like 12 minutes in the game. He really didn't play that many minutes. He has played 249 postseason games, and last night was the first time he was ever held scoreless. 2 of his least scoring games in his career in the postseason have occurred in this series. In Game 3, he had 2 points, and then here tonight, he had, scratch that. 3 of his least scoring games have been in this series. In Game 2, he had 2 points. Game 3, he had 2 points. And then last night, he had 0. So, if you're not getting anything from Tim Duncan, but again, Father Time starting to creep up on him a little bit, I think it's finally taken its toll on Timmy D.
And if he's not getting the minutes either, like you said.
Exactly. I think the game has just kind of surpassed him. He's been a tremendous player. And last year for the Spurs, he was their best player in the postseason. He really carried them to almost knocking off a very good Clippers team last season. But if you're not getting anything from him, it's going to make it tough for the Spurs to knock off the Thunder, who are playing so good right now. And Kevin Durant trying to show that he can carry a team to a championship. And there's so much surrounding that team because Kevin Durant is a free agent this offseason. So, if they lose, and they lose, in maybe embarrassing fashion, it's going to make it easier for him to walk away. So I think Kevin Durant's under pressure. The Thunder are under pressure. And then as an organization, the Thunder have to show him that they can win. So they're going to need him to play good, and they're going to need everybody else to play good as well. But if Kevin Durant keeps playing the way he did in those last 2 games, then I feel like the Thunder can knock off the Spurs. But the Spurs, in order for them to win, they're going to have to get more help from somebody other than LaMarcus Aldridge and Kawhi Leonard, who have played really good this postseason, but yesterday they go 0 for 7 in the fourth quarter, and that's the reason the Spurs were able to knock off the defending or the San Antonio Spurs.
And then the last series is Toronto and Miami, with Toronto leading 2-1.
Yeah, Toronto is up 2-1. We've got some more stuff to talk about. It's the NBA. We've got Steph Curry news, again, the MVP, so we'll talk about that when we come back from the break as well. We've got some EKU stuff we'll talk about, so we'll hang around just a few minutes, and we'll talk more NBA when we come back from our first commercial break right here on the Wallingford Sports Show, back on 1340 WEKY and on 1550 WIRV.
Follow Madison County School Sports Television on Twitter. Or like us on Facebook, MCS TV. And of course, watch all of our videos on YouTube.
Welcome back into the Wallingford Sports Show. He's Hugh Davis. I'm Michael Watkins. We're glad to have you tuned in on this rainy day here in downtown Richmond, Hugh, but we're inside today, so that makes it a little bit easier for us to do this show. Before the break, we were talking about the NBA again when I mentioned that the Raptors and Heat in Game 4 tonight. Raptors lead that series 2-1, but an interesting turn of events in this series as the starting center for both teams For the Raptors, Valanciunas is going to be out for the rest of this series at least, and Whiteside, a sprained MCL, he could miss the rest of this series. So the starting centers for both teams are going to be out at least for sure tonight. So it'll be interesting to see who plays good.
I was going to say, who would be their backups, or who would
for the Raptors, Bismack Biyombo, who's had some big games. He's had 20-plus rebound games this season and last. And for the Heat, I'm assuming they would probably throw in Haslam, Stoudemire, or Josh McRoberts. Don't know who they would put into that starting role, but Whiteside was a force to be reckoned with in that first round, played really good in a couple of games in this series. So they're going to miss him protecting the paint, but with him off the floor, their offense has been better. They can spread the floor a little bit better, and they can put more shooters on the floor and surround Dwayne Wade, who is a good driver. He can get into the paint and dish that ball out. So it'll be interesting to see who plays better without their starting center. The Heat down 2-1 in this series. I feel like they've been the best team in this series. They just haven't had the luck of pulling out the games. So it'll be an interesting one tonight to see who wins this one without their starting center and without. And maybe we might see 5 guards on the floor at a time tonight, and see which team kind of can create some better offense without those guys kind of clogging the lane. We know for sure that Steph Curry is going to be the MVP for the second straight season. The only thing left to figure out is if he will be the first ever unanimous MVP. Now, you look at it, there was good seasons by Russell Westbrook. He had a really good year. Kawhi Leonard had a good season. LeBron James is obviously going to be mentioned in the MVP conversation. But nobody's really had a year like Steph Curry had.
And the record-breaking year with the win.
Exactly. 73 wins is most all-time. He's going to be the third point guard to ever win multiple MVP awards. Magic Johnson won 3 in 86-87, 88-89, and 89-90. Steve Nash won back-to-back MVPs in 04-05 and 05-06, and then Curry back-to-back MVPs last year and this year. He is only the third player ever to lead the NBA in points and steals per game. Allen Iverson did that twice from 2000 to 2002, back-to-back years. And then Michael Jordan did it 3 times in 87, 88, 89, 80, and 92, 93. So anytime you're mentioned with Michael Jordan, obviously you had a really good season. And Steph Curry has broken the three-point record, most three-pointers made in a single season for the 3rd straight year. He broke the record himself back in 2012 with 272. He broke Ray Allen's record. And then the last year, he hit 286 to break his own record. This year, 402 three-pointers. He hit 286 last year that broke his own record. And this year, almost doubled it. He hit 100 and, almost 120, 130 more three-pointers this year than he did last year. So Curry's an unbelievable player. He's had game winners. You throw those in. He had a game winner from almost at half court against the Thunder this year. And then one last thing, he is a member of the 50-45-90 club, which is 50% field goal percentage, 45% from behind the three-point line, and 90% from behind the free throw line. Only 3 players have done that. Steve Nash, who everybody knows how good he was, Steve Kerr, who is Steph Curry's coach, and Curry is now the 3rd player ever to do so. So a tremendous season. He also recorded a player efficiency rating of 31.5 this season, the 8th best single-season PER in NBA history. Only Wilt Chamberlain, LeBron, and Michael Jordan recorded a better single-season PER. So, the numbers are just
with
incredible.
three Hall of Famers, basically.
Yeah. And he's also the first player in Warriors history to win multiple MVP awards. So the list goes on and on. You can list the accolades for Steph Curry, a tremendous season, and then not to mention the 73 wins, the most in NBA history. But now the injury's starting to creep back up. We'll see if he can get back to what he was and help the Warriors make another championship run. I think coming into the playoffs, the only team anybody gave a shot to of beating them was the San Antonio Spurs, who had a historic season themselves. Especially at home, they had a really good season. But now with Curry's injury and the way that the Cavaliers are playing, everybody is saying that Cleveland is the team to knock off. So we'll see.
And then San Antonio's kind of struggling a little bit now against Oklahoma City.
The Thunder have been a top 5 team all year long, so I don't think it's a surprise to anybody that this series is as competitive as it is. I think what's more surprising is the way that some of the players have played. Tim Duncan, again, a shell of his former self. Ginobili and Parker are really showing how old they are. So it's just a lot going on in the NBA right now, and we've got a couple more weeks, and then we're going to be in the NBA Finals. I'm extremely excited about the NBA Draft Lottery, which will be coming up toward the end of May. We'll see, who's getting what draft pick. The Celtics potentially could get a top 5 pick this year, a top 3 pick, with the Brooklyn Nets pick going to them, and kind of see what Danny Ainge can do with that this offseason. A lot of stuff going on in the NBA, so we're going to be excited to watch those games tonight, see who can pull away, see if the Heat and the Blazers can knot it up at 2-2. And now the Cavs are just going to sit back. They've swept the Hawks. They'll kind of just rest up a little bit and be ready to go. I think coming into this series, people were thinking maybe they might have some rust. They had about a week off before they played their first game against Atlanta. But they come off firing on all cylinders and set a record for three-pointers in a 4-game series. So we'll see if they get the rest again, what they can do versus either Toronto or Miami. A lot of softball and baseball news locally and EKU news as well. Here we've got the tournament listings for who will square off in softball and baseball. That'll be coming up in a couple of weeks. May 23rd, we'll have the first round for softball and baseball. And then we'll have the championship games on Tuesday. We'll let you talk about the pairing ceremony.
It looks like it's kind of like the basketball. They do one drawing for baseball, softball, because in both the baseball and softball, Madison Central faces Model, and Madison Southern faces Berea.
Yep.
The softball, Madison Southern and Berea is the first game at 6 o'clock on Monday. Madison Central and Model follows that. Baseball, though, Madison Central and Model are first at 5:30, and Southern and Berea follow that. And then both championships are on Tuesday, and both championships are at 7 o'clock on Tuesday.
So what they do is they still in basketball and in softball and baseball is they draw, not seeding like they do in other districts that we've seen. I know for Estill County, they will not know the district pairings at least until the end of this week because they've still got Estill County and Powell County to play, and I think one more district game down the line as well.
I think when I looked at the high school site, there was only 4, 5, 6 districts that were already known. Yeah,
and those are probably the ones that have drawn, maybe. So
maybe.
So we'll see who squares off over in the 56th district as well. Again, Estill County probably going to be the number 1 seed, Powell County the 2 seed. I know Estill County knocked off Powell County in a really good game this past week, and we'll talk more about that.
Estill County's 5-0 in the district, so that's in baseball.
And in softball, they're probably even better than that.
Well, they're 5-0 also in the district, so both of them probably will be the number 1s.
But now that Estill County, Powell County baseball game, we'll talk more about that when we come back from our second break. It's the Wallingford Sports Show. I want to say thank you to MadisonCountyFarmersMarket.com, to Jack Burford Chevrolet, ExpressRoofing.net, and to the folks at Solo Diamond Sports Academy. Coming up in our final segment, we will announce our Solo Diamond Sports Academy Players of the Week. And for the first time, we have a consecutive winner of that award. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes back on the Wallingford Sports Show right here on 1340 WEKY and on 1550 WIRV.
Follow Madison County School Sports Television on Twitter, or like us on Facebook, MCS TV. And of course, watch all of our videos on YouTube.
Welcome back in studio to the Wallingford Sports Show. Hugh Davis and Michael Watkins. We're glad to have you tuned in. And Hugh, a busy week for our local high school teams, and a dandy of a baseball game over in Irvin on May the 3rd as the Engineers knock off Powell County 4-3 in 10 innings. Powell County took a 3-2 lead in the top of the 10th, but the Engineers come back with 2 runs in the bottom of the 10th and win that one 4-3. A tremendous ball game, and the Engineers pick up a big district win, almost securing themselves a number 1 seed. They'll square off with Powell County one more time. And I can't remember how they do the tiebreaker, maybe if it's points scored or maybe how many runs you beat the other team, but that's a big win. And Powell County and Estill County have always been a huge rivalry, whether it be in baseball or softball, but a big win for the Engineers on May the 3rd as they knock off the Pirates. And then got a big win against Lee County, too, again going 5-0 in district play. They have won 5 of their last 6 games, really picking up their play heading in to the latter part of the year. And we will have 2 softball games for you on the air this week. On Wednesday, we will have Estill County versus Madison Central softball. On Thursday, we will have Madison Southern at Estill County softball. So some big softball games. Our local coverage team squaring off in softball coming up later on this week. As for Madison Central, a team that had a big game last past week as they knock off Madison Southern. A really good game. We were there, Randy, and the Engineers or the Indians send out Jacob Ferris on the mound. He pitched a tremendous game. Not doing. They put him out there. I think he only allowed 1 run, and he's actually going to be our player of the week. We'll talk more about him coming up in our next segment. But a really good job by Jacob Ferris. They knock off Southern on the 5th. That was last Thursday. The score in that one was 6-1 Central, and Southern started off the game with 1 run in the top of the first and didn't get nothing else after that. Central goes on to win 5 games last week. They beat Scott County 9-2, 9-8 win over Ryle, 4-1 win over Knox Central, and then a 7-1 win over South Laurel. And those are big wins because Central had lost to South Laurel earlier in the year 8-6, and Scott County is a team that it's 18-8, a really good team in the 11th region. So those are big wins as Central continues to impress heading into the latter part of the year. The defending 11th region champions showing that they might be in run for back-to-back 11th region titles.
Yeah. Scott County in the region, those 7-5. Looks like the team to maybe keep an eye on in the 11th region baseball is Lexington Catholic. They're 5-0 in the region.
So it's going to be interesting to see how the Indians compare to some of those teams. But I'll tell you what, if they get pitching performances like they did from Ferris last week, it's going to be not an easy road to haul, but it'll make it much easier because that offense is a high, potent offense. If they can get guys on base, they've got guys that can bring them in. And if they get pitching performances like they did from Ferris last week, then I think they could pull it off back-to-back 11th region titles. As for the softball side of things, the Lady Indians went 3-2 last week. They or 2-1 last week. They knock off Boyle County 11-5, South Warren 10-2, and then lost in 5 innings 11-1 to McCracken County. As for Madison Southern, a team again, they will take on Berea in the first round of the 44th district tournament. Madison Southern, the Lady Eagles, went I think 2-1 last week. They knock off Garrett County and Clay County, and then lost to Somerset 7-6. So
what was that Madison Central McCracken?
11-1.
Oh, 11-1.
Yeah.
Okay. I think McCracken, from what I've noticed, is one of the top teams in the state. Because I know Scott County, I think, played them twice and lost to them kind of like that, or maybe closer.
So McCracken County is pretty good?
I think so, yeah. They're out there in Paducah, McCracken County.
Well, our original plan, again, I just mentioned it, was Estill County versus Central and Southern this week in softball action, but it looks as if those games have been canceled. One of those games have been canceled. The Central Estill County game is still on for May the 11th. That'll be on Wednesday, but the Thursday game is no longer on the schedule, so I don't know if there was a scheduling conflict, but the Southern Estill County softball game is no longer on the schedule, so we will have to make arrangements to do a different game. But Central and Estill County could be a pretty good game this year. The Lady Engineers 14-8 on the season, 8-0 or 6-0 in region play against 5-0 in district play. The district up there is not very competitive, so they always try to go outside of their region and their district to find some really competitive games.
And Madison Central's almost the same, 14-7. So
yeah, so they've done really good at finding tough games outside. They've lost to Boyle County 7-0, 7-6 loss to Dunbar, lost 2-1 to Garrett County, 5-3 to Rockcastle County, 10-3 loss at South Laurel, 12-2 loss to Scott County, and they lost back-to-back games last week, 1-0 to Garrett County, and then 6-1 to Rockcastle County. So they're undefeated in their region, and that's why they said they always try to go outside of their region and find more competitive games, because the 14th region tournament the last 5+ years, maybe longer than that, the last 8+ years, has been the Estill County Invitational. They have dominated the 14th region and that 56th district up there, only losing, I think, 1 game in district play since they have come into the district, and that is just unbelievable. That is complete domination. That's like me and you playing basketball one-on-one. I'm going to dominate that matchup.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. So, it's something like that,
Speed, agility, shooting,
Whoa,
all that.
Hang on. You've not seen me play if he thinks I can shoot. Let's just get that out of the way. I'm not
You
a
ain't
shooter.
seen me shoot either,
Well,
though.
That's true. Now, if you shoot worse than I am, man, I feel bad for you. I was never known
That's
as a
why I'm
shooter.
never out there.
Now, if we had a trash-talking matchup, that would be even worse because that's where I run. That's where I'm at. But now, shooting, I think Randy could probably outshoot us both then if we're that bad. Randy's a pretty good shooter. Well, okay then. I guess he would probably knock us out and knock out or something. But
Right.
But it's going to be an interesting tournament and some good games coming up. I feel like Madison Central is so good that in baseball the district is almost theirs, especially if they get again the pitching performances that we saw this past week. And on softball, the softball team had a lot of hype surrounding it coming into the season. They lost a couple of tough games early on, a really tough schedule. But now they're starting to click a little bit, getting things rolling toward the end of the year. And this is really when you want to be playing your best baseball and
Oh, yeah,
softball.
always, yes.
Speaking of your best baseball, how about the win for the Colonels this past week? They already knocked off a top 15 team.
And I think Mississippi State maybe even up to, last week may have been up to number 3 in the nation.
So, they knocked off a top 10 team in the nation then, and then they go on the road at Kentucky, and they knock off the Wildcats 5-4 this past week.
And I think they were down 4-0.
They were down 4-0. Come back later on in the ball game. We have got to get Coach Thompson back over here before the tournament starts and let him talk about this team again.
And then this past weekend they were at number 2 in the conference, number 2 Jacksonville State, and on Friday had a huge ball game, won 19-13, and I think they were they were down late in the game there. Then lost 9-3 on Saturday, and then picked up a big win yesterday. Where'd it go? 7-5 yesterday. So won the series 2-1 at Jacksonville, who's number 2 in the conference.
So you're getting big wins. You knock off Kentucky. And I think a win like that can just give you nothing but momentum. And it was almost kind of perfectly placed in the schedule because then you go off and again pick on the number 2 team in the nation or in the conference and pick up big wins there.
Yeah, and then I know this weekend or the next 2 weekends. This weekend they're at home against Murray State Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Let's see, they are.
12.
Find it here. They're one game ahead of Murray State, and then the next weekend they play at Tennessee Tech, who Eastern is tied with right now.
So big games coming up.
The next 2 weekends are huge because only 6 teams in the conference advance, and Eastern's in that last spot mix right now.
So the Colonels got to pick up some big wins. Get out and support them this week, guys. It'll be your last chance to see this team. And this head coach, Edwin Thompson, is so hyped. He's so excited about this team. And get out there and support all your local teams if you can. We tell that every week, but it's so important to get out there and support all of our local players. We'll talk softball as well when we come back from our next break. We've got some softball news for EKU as they get set. And Hugh will be traveling all the way to Alabama tomorrow, leaving out tomorrow, right?
Yes.
So we'll miss him, but he'll be heading out tomorrow to do some stats for the EKU softball team. So we'll talk that, and we'll announce our solo Diamond Sports Academy Players of the Week. Coming back in just a moment on the Wallingford Sports Show on 1340 WEKY and on 1550 WIRV.
Follow Madison County School Sports Television on Twitter. Or like us on Facebook, MCS TV. And of course, watch all of our videos on YouTube.
Do you love rock and roll?
Some of it.
Some of it? Okay. Welcome back to the Wallingford Sports Show. We're live in studio this evening talking EKU softball as we come back from the break. And Hugh Davis, the Lady Colonels, or the Colonels on the ladies' side.
There are no more lady colonels. There are colonels that are ladies.
See, it's going to take me a long time to get used to that. But they are on the road tomorrow for the OVC tournament. And got some big games coming up this week.
They open up on Wednesday, 10 a.m. Central Time, so 11 a.m. our time. First game of the tournament. And they face Tennessee Tech. Eastern's the 3rd seed. Tennessee Tech's the 6th seed. And ironically, that's who we played this weekend and won 2 out of 3 down there.
Is it the new series in the tournament too, or is it just one game?
No, well, double elimination.
Okay, double elimination.
Double elimination. 8 teams, and everybody plays one game Wednesday and then one game Thursday, and then it kind of get two teams eliminated Thursday and then go from there.
I got you. So now the Colonels, do they have, like, are they projected to win, make it into the semifinals? Is there like a projection as far as what we think is going to happen?
Well, they've this last month they've kind of had a Jekyll and Hyde month, so it's hard to tell. Although the conference winner, Jacksonville State, 26-0 in the conference.
It's not bad.
Not bad.
It's not a bad record.
And where we're playing is neutral, but it's only about a half hour from Jacksonville, so it's a neutral field, but not necessarily neutral fans.
Well, so what you're saying is we need to just cancel school. Well, school will be out. The finals is this week, right?
Well, the tournament's this week, so
that's
it's
true.
a combination there. But Jacksonville was, like I said, the conference champion. We actually finished in a tie for second, but Eastern Illinois, who we finished with, we lost both games to them up there. Fourth is SIU Edwardsville. Fifth is Tennessee Martin. Sixth was Tennessee Tech. Seventh was Morehead State, and the eighth team that got in, Murray State.
So those are the standings, and hopefully the Colonels can pull us out some big wins. Now the baseball tournament will start next week. Am I right on that? Latter part
2
of
weeks.
next week, 2 weeks from now. Okay.
Well, I guess technically 3 because, see, there's 2 weekends yet.
2 weekends left in the baseball season.
Right, and right now, first in baseball is Southeast Missouri, who ironically was at Tennessee Tech this weekend, but I'm not sure how they did. Jacksonville State, who we beat 2 out of 3, is second. Austin Peay third. Belmont fourth. Morehead fifth. And then Tennessee Tech and Eastern are in that 6th spot, with Murray State only 1 game behind, who Eastern faces this weekend.
So Eastern, the same thing that happened in basketball. The Colonels held their own fate in their hands. All they had to do was win, and they were in. So the same thing lies ahead of them here in the next 2 weeks. If they can win these 2 series, they are in the tournament and a chance to make some noise. And if they play the way they did against, what we've saw against Mississippi State, against Kentucky, then they can make a run, and who knows where they could end up.
And I think they actually, I don't think they got a win against Southeast Missouri, who's leading. But I think 2 of the 3 games were one-run games, and one of them was an extra inning game. So I mean, they're right there. And Austin Peay, I think, was the same way. So I mean, they're right there. It's just needing that one player or one pitcher or something to step up and produce in a big game, like I guess they did this weekend against Jacksonville and against Kentucky and against Mississippi State. And
somebody to sing that song, "Put Me In, Coach, I'm Ready to Play." That's what they need. Some motivation like that. Some John Fogerty might pick them up a little bit. While we're talking baseball, I do want to let you guys know the Reds will follow us immediately after this show. So if you're a big Reds fan, a chance to listen to the game. Marty Brenneman and the guys will have the call following us here on WEKY. Also, it's time for our Solo Diamond Sports Academy Players of the Week. And a big week for Jacob Ferris. He is our Player of the Week. Madison Central's pitcher. 3 hits allowed in the game against Madison Southern. Gave up 2 hits and 1 unearned run in the first inning. Then went on to retire 13 batters in a row. He dominated that game, 10 strikeouts, and I think only 1 walk. He just, again, dominated, put the ball where he wanted it, and again, only 1 unearned run, so really a shutout. His defense backed him up, but Jacob Ferris, a tremendous effort against Madison Southern. He is our Solo Diamond Sports Academy Player of the Week for baseball. And we have our first time since we've been doing the Player of the Week. Sydney Vaughn is ours for the second time this season, our Player of the Week on the softball side. She was 4 of 5 in a game this week. 3 singles, a home run over the left field fence, 3 RBIs, and 2 runs. Some good play defensively, and Sydney Vaughn, for the second time this season, is our softball Player of the Week from Solo Diamond Sports Academy. Guys, if you're working on your swing, whatever you are, get in. If you're working on your baseball game, which has now become a year-round sport, there's baseball games being played, whether it's July or December, it seems like they are playing baseball or softball year-round, then Solo Diamond Sports Academy is the place you need to check out. They've got weight equipment. They've got a batting cage. They'll help you with your pitching over there. And Ken and Brian do a tremendous job of really helping out the kids in this community get better at baseball or softball. I think from all ages, they'll help you out over there at Solo Diamond Sports Academy on North Keeneland Drive. We also want to say thank you to the folks at MadisonCountyFarmersMarket.com, Jack Burford Chevrolet, and ExpressRoofing.net. And, of course, we want to say thank you to Randy and the folks at Madison County Sports Television. It's been a busy week of sports, Hugh, and it will continue right along.
You want to mention about next week?
Yeah, next week we will have the show later on in the week. I'm going on vacation, Hugh. I've got my swimming trunks ordered. Heading down to the beach, I'll come back. I might have a little bit better of a tan on me than what I leave with, but
the show won't be next Monday.
It won't be next Monday. We will potentially do it on Tuesday. We're going to see what the schedule allows for. Of course, baseball and softball games might kick us out, but whatever night we can do this show, we will line it out and do it for you next week. And then the week after that, we're going to have the first round baseball and softball on Monday, so we'll push it back. We might try and do a baseball softball roundup after the district tournament is over, and then a region preview later on in that week. Of course, the semifinals are on Monday, it is the semifinals, but it's the first round is on Monday. The championship games are on Tuesday. Now, if those games get rained out on that Monday, then of course we will do the show from in studio. But if they do have the games, we'll be down there on the field. You can watch them online on Madison County Sports Television, or you can listen to us on the radio live. We'll have it down there for you as well.
And of course, like we were saying, the first game of baseball is at 5:30 that day. First softball game's at 6.
And it'll be Central, Model in baseball, Southern and Berea in softball. Same thing, and same thing for baseball and softball both.
Correct.
It'll be Central, Model, Southern, Berea, and then the same thing in softball as well.
Correct.
And it's I think it'll be a good tournament. The championship games will be a little bit more competitive. I think we're going to see Central, Southern. The same thing we saw in basketball this year. Those two teams have just been really good all year long, been the most consistent teams. So it looks like we're going to see them squaring off in the championship game. But now don't knock off Model. Model's got a team that they've got a really good catcher and Colton Cobb, who if he gets a hold of one, it's over the fence every time. And they're used to playing at EKU too, so they've kind of got the home field advantage there. And we'll see if they can get good pitching. Their defense has been kind of suspect this year with errors, and we had a game where they just could not make an easy pop-up catch. But if they can correct those things, I think Coach Shapiro will have his guys ready. They know it's going to be a tough task to knock off the defending region champs, and the team that is most likely going to win the region again has got a good shot at doing so. But it's a Cinderella run could be in the Model Patriots.
And then both championship games are scheduled for 7 o'clock on Tuesday.
Yeah, both championship games on Tuesday.
And that is Tuesday the 24th, so
Yep.
two weeks from tomorrow.
And what we think we're going to do, and I don't know if Randy's agreed to this yet, but what we're going to do for the radio at least is have the softball games on Monday, the baseball championship game on Tuesday. Most likely we'll see that for the TV station and for the radio as well. But I think just competitiveness-wise, it's going to be better to do that. But we'll see. We'll get down the line a little bit. Perfect scenario would be maybe somehow if we could get the baseball games rained out and do them on a different day and then have the championship games pushed back too. But
Of course, baseball's got the artificial turf where softball doesn't. So
Exactly.
softball would be more likely pushed
Yeah.
back if the weather comes into play.
so we'll see if something like that would be a little bit nicer for us as well.
Of course, both fields have lights, so the daylight won't be an issue, or the darkness or overcast won't be an issue.
Well, I thought the cold weather was over with, but now this weekend it was a little chilly outside. I had to put me a jacket on. And, I'm ready to go. I'm ready for the beach after this past weekend. I thought the cold weather was over with, and it just makes me. Mother Nature does not like me. Every time I put my winter clothes up, she makes it cold on me again.
Well, you can be jealous then, because this past weekend in Cookeville, Tennessee, it was in the 82 or thereabout,
Well,
and it's supposed to be that in Oxford, Alabama this week too.
There was a report of a man in glasses who was with the Colonels down there this weekend, walking around in a pair of swimming trunks. And was that you?
No,
wasn't you? That
no.
report was false.
No,
All right then.
that wasn't me.
Now, the Wallingford Sports Show, guys, we will be coming at you live in studio for the next couple of weeks, maybe longer. We do want to say thanks to all of our sponsors again, and congratulations to Jacob Ferris and to Sydney Vaughn, our Solo Diamond Sports Academy Players of the Week. It's a busy week in sports. Again, we've got softball action for you on the radio this week, a baseball game potentially, and then the NBA playoffs continuing. By the time we come back on the air next week, we're most likely going to be down to 4 teams. Don't know who that'll be. I made a prediction with the injuries I saw. I believe the Heat will come back from behind 2-1 to knock off the Raptors, especially with the injuries to Valanciunas. I think Golden State ends up winning that series against Portland. And the Spurs could go anyway, but I feel like the Spurs are just too good. They've been too good all season long. They'll figure something out. Greg Popovich will figure out a way to get his team into the Western Conference Finals. So I believe we're going to have a Golden State Spurs Western Conference Finals and a Miami Heat Cleveland Cavaliers Eastern Conference Finals. Again, I wanted to let you guys know the Reds will be following us immediately. We'll see you next week on the Wallingford Sports Show right here on 1340 WEKY and on 1550 WIRV.
follow Madison County School Sports Television on Twitter. Or like us on Facebook, MCS TV. And of course, watch all of our videos on YouTube.